Looking to invest? Start your journey by exploring exchange-traded funds with Global X ETFs. Exchange-traded funds, or ETFs for short, create baskets of stocks, bonds, and other assets that you can buy in a single trade. Global X specializes in ETFs that track emerging trends, like the rise of artificial intelligence, as well as strategies aimed to generate income potential. Visit globalxetfs.com to discover how you can get started.
This is More Money with economist Steve Moore. Now, Steve Moore.
Okay, folks, we are back. We are live on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. I hope everyone gets out. And I've said this from the time I first started doing this show 6 or 7 years ago, that the best disinfectant, the best way to stay healthy is get sunshine and fresh air. So I hope you're enjoying this beautiful fall day all across the East Coast. It is, I believe this is the first day of fall. And so summer is finally officially over, but this is one of my favorite times of the year. I live in Virginia, and the fall foliage is just starting to look absolutely beautiful. I think up north, you've probably seen the leaves starting to turn already, but it is just gorgeous to see the incredible splendor of Mother Nature. So my next guest is a good friend, but also one of the top reporters in Washington, and that is Tania Tauscher. And she works for the Washington Examiner. And she has done some real investigative reporting, something that isn't done that much. Everybody wants to opinionate about everything, but nobody wants to actually go out and get the facts. Well, Tania is someone who does, and she has an amazing report that I wanted to relate to you. That's why I asked her to come on, about what is going on in Springfield, Ohio. So, Tania, thanks for joining this afternoon.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I wanted to have you on because you were telling me the other day about some of the things that you learned and that you wrote about in your great column for the Washington Examiner. And I had, frankly, I'm covering economics. I try to cover some of the politics. And when Donald Trump brought up Springfield, Ohio, in that debate with Kamala Harris, I didn't exactly know what he was talking about because I didn't know the whole story about what was happening in Springfield, Ohio. And there's a lot of controversy about what Trump said and whether it was accurate or not. So would you give our listeners a little panoramic view of what's going on in Springfield? Why is there so much controversy? And what did you find?
So remember when Ron DeSantis flew those 49 Venezuelans to Martha's Vineyard about 2 years ago?
Yes, I do remember. Yeah.
Martha's Vineyard is a town of 20,000 of the country's elites. And they had those 49 migrants there for 48 hours. Within 48 hours, all but 5 of them were flown out in like emergency FEMA evacuation. Springfield, Ohio is about 2.5 times the size of Martha's Vineyard. And it has seen 1,000 times more Haitians, whose Haitians granted TPS status by Joe Biden, come over in the last year and a half. This is a very poor town.
Tania, how is it that they ended up in Springfield?
So this is the real interesting part of the story. And it's why these these Springfield residents weren't terribly upset with Donald Trump for, repeating the unproven allegations that these migrants, did someone eat a cat or not? That's not been proven. But what I was able to prove is that there are a number of, best way to describe them are slumlords. There's one named George Ten, and he owns a company called First Diversity Staffing that has a long relationship with the city of Springfield. And what he has done is he owns at least 48 properties that I was able to find in public records and verify that he uses these properties to house these migrants, often, multiple of migrants who are not in a family unit living in the same home. They pay him rent. They pay him for transportation to work at jobs that he does these mass contracts with companies like Dole Fruit Packaging.
Wow.
Where Dole can get workers for below market rates because these migrants under TPS status are entitled to Medicaid, federal food stamps, things like that.
So sorry, what is hold on. What did you say? GPS what is this status
TPS,
you're talking about?
Temporary protected status.
Oh, TPS, temporary protection status. And that means that they're eligible for all these government programs?
Yes. So not
Oh my
only are, a
God.
lot of these are migrants that did illegally cross the border, right? Either
Uh-huh.
falsely claiming asylum or, in between ports of entry, which otherwise would be a crime. But Joe Biden was able to unilaterally grant them TPS status, which means they cannot be deported. And because if Trump wins, Trump has promised to undo this, and Trump has obviously promised to deport, those who have committed crimes since
Right.
coming here
Right.
illegally.
Right.
There are advertisements plastered around the city telling Haitians to come get their TPS before the election.
Now,
And
these
so,
people they're not eligible to vote, are they?
no, because they're not citizens, so they're not allowed to vote. But, Kamala Harris has made it clear she wants to put all these people on a pathway to citizenship. It's on her
Yes.
website.
Right.
Regardless of how
Right.
you came in here, that's what she wants.
Right. Amazing. And so tell me, what is the mood of the people? Now, what kind of a town is this? Is it a working class town? I'm not familiar with Springfield, Ohio.
It is the quintessential left behind town of, Trump won by a 20 something point margin in 2020. This area
Mm-hmm.
hit really hard by deindustrialization,
Mm-hmm.
then opioid crisis, COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just never had the chance to really recover. And on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
Ohio has incredibly restrictive zoning law, so there hasn't been any housing growth. So what's happening is not only are, they're shuttering the city because they have to divert all these resources to translators and legal services for the Haitians. They shuttered a homeless shelter, and I met some of the homeless women and children that now are in a shelter that only is operational 12 hours a day. So they have to spend 12 hours a day on the streets with their infants. But also, residents, seniors who are living in housing, they're basically being pushed out because the landlords know they can get much better
Make more
rates
money.
from these Haitian migrants who are receiving federal taxpayer dollars.
Now, what was the? So I'm sure you talked to just the citizens on the street. What is their attitude about what's going on in their town?
A lot of them don't blame the Haitians, right? There isn't an incredible amount of evidence that the violent crime rate or anything like that is disproportionate. And many of them view them as victims because they know that they are being paid rock bottom wages by these contractors. They're basically in indentured servitude to these slumlords. They blame the government because think about it.
Yeah.
Joe Biden made the call that Greg Abbott could not enforce his own border. Joe Biden made the call that it is Joe Biden's and Kamala Harris's border, and they have responsibility. And yet they've abdicated their responsibility when it came to the 250,000 Haitians that he's granted TPS. What do you say? Here's a check. Here's your government card. Now just go in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. And what? They don't speak English. They speak Creole. So it's not even French. So they don't have enough translators. The school system is completely overblown. And the homeless services and services for the locals are completely depleted.
So what about now they speak French, or what language do these immigrants speak?
Haitian Creole is different from French. So that's one of the issues. There are not many native Haitian Creole speakers that are available. So on top of the direct federal taxpayer dollars, the DHS gives all this, they through multiple conduits, they give money to, say, like the Catholic Charities of Southwest Ohio for legal services, for translators. We are subsidizing this in so many different ways. And that's why you and I are both, we love free markets and we love legal immigration. And this is a story about how those systems have been subverted through just the open border, the criminal border, and the vast expansion of the welfare state, where now, it's not a fake. It's not as though they're fairly undercutting the local workers. The government is subsidizing them to be able to do so.
Now, is this kind of thing, I think what worries a lot of our listeners, I mean, obviously, we're all concerned about what's happening in this town in Ohio, but are there other towns in America where this kind of thing is going on, this kind of invasion?
Yes. So there's a town in Pennsylvania, Charleroi, that's also undergoing this. Notably, when Abbott and DeSantis and these red state warriors started busing these migrants, to New York City, Boston, it finally put it on the national radar. But look, every voter needs to understand this is not 2020. Every town is a border town. If you are not Martha's Vineyard, if you're not neighbors, with the Obamas and the Clintons, and you're not in an elite neighborhood that can bus these folks away, we are dealing with this. We're a country of 330 million people, and we've imported a minimum of 10 million people. That's the official government number. And again, a lot of these are single young men. A lot of these are not family units. And the scary thing that even the Biden Department of Labor has pointed out, a lot of these are children that are missing. And if they get found, they're found to be working in sweatshops. Because now, that's the joy of full employment, Steve.
I'm not surprised. So what is the truth? Because, Trump made the statement about the immigrants eating pets and things like that. Is there any evidence of that, or what's the story there?
No, I could find no verification of Haitians in Springfield, Ohio eating pets. I know Chris Rufo found some other migrant in a close by town that allegedly ate a pet. But you know what? No one in Springfield cares about that. And they don't want, and again, there was a huge dinner, a solidarity dinner at a local Haitian Creole restaurant the weekend after the debate. And guess what? It was mostly Springfield residents that went there. They have sympathy for the Haitians who are largely law-abiding, who are largely trying to contribute. But that doesn't translate to having the resources to have them in public schools, having traffic enforcement.
What worries me is that if you get Kamala in there for 4 more years, they're going to have this kind of thing happening in communities all over the country, and that this might just be the tip of the iceberg, because she has no interest in controlling illegal immigration. In fact, I'm kind of more and more cynical all the time. I think they want the illegal immigrants in because they think they can turn them into Democratic voters. I don't know what your thought is about that, but and I used to not believe that when my friends said, this is just a way to exploit the political system. But you look at what's happened in the last 4 years, and what other conclusion can you draw?
Yeah, and remember, Kamala Harris, who she is not what she's been saying on repeat for the last 2 months. It's what she's been saying for the last 10 years of her career. And she's made it very clear that she does not believe illegally crossing into the country should be a crime. She wanted to decriminalize crossing into the border. And look, it turned out for the left that demographics are not destiny, as we're seeing Trump with unprecedented gains among Latinos, and even a significant movement where 1 in 4 Black men younger than 50 are supporting Donald Trump in this election. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say their goal would be, in 4 years from now, if she, God forbid, wins, being able to naturalize, a group of TPS citizens, bring them in. And you and I know as well as anyone, Steve, you can vote your way into communism, as Venezuela has proven, but you cannot vote your way out. That's so true.
Yep. Well, Tiana, great reporting. Thanks so much for joining. That's Tania Tauscher, who writes for the Washington Examiner, has done on-the-ground reporting, something that doesn't happen enough in America. Great reporting. Tania, thanks for coming on. We'll be right back. This is WABC, and this is the More Money Show.
People are driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. The hiring process can be slow and overwhelming. Simplify hiring with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform. With over 350 million global monthly visitors according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. That's Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Terms and conditions apply.